These videos are brought to you by MSCCasino.com and the Macau Sporting Club. MSCCasino.com, check it out. Also, be sure to check out PF Painters and their website, pfpainters.com.
You are watching Sports Matters TV.
Okay guys, Sports Matters TV in association with the Macau Casino in Cork City. And yet again, it is extremely rare I get starstruck. And I mean that. It's very rare I get starstruck. I've been blessed to interview many of the greats throughout the last 10 years. And the lady in front of me right now is, I suppose, the groundbreaking female boxer that changed the way of boxing today. She opened many avenues also for our own Katie Taylor. Christy, I'm glad that we have you on. It's a true honour. How have you been this year? Look, obviously we're into February, but how has the year started for you?
You know, we're just hustling. We're doing what we do, and that's promoting boxing and bringing attention to domestic violence awareness. That's what I do with Christy's Champs, and then my boxing promotion, Christy Martin Promotions, where we just want to bring, build champions in the ring, but also build champions outside the ring, because that's what's really important, is changing the way that the world sees domestic violence.
I agree 100%. And yet again, listen, we talk about you being an icon, like you influence the young kids of today, I suppose the current generation today. You've been through a lot, but there's no better person to guide people right now in this world than yourself. Obviously, look, you've been an incredible ambassador for boxing, for people in general, and obviously you love what you do today.
I love what I do. I want to put some belts around waists of these young fighters, and I appreciate the recognition of what me and one of your fellow Irish women, 𝗔𝗥𝗜𝗓𝗓 𝗔𝗔𝗥𝗓𝗓, we changed the landscape of how women's boxing is seen, and really made it a lot easier for these females that are out there today, cashing in, making big bucks, and getting great recognition, which they deserve. And I'm proud to think that we were just a little part of history, and that our little part helped open up some big doors.
Definitely. And you mentioned Deirdre. Look, she's iconic here in Ireland, but what a fight that was. Two tough cookies going at it, changing the game. That was, it must seem like yesterday, even though that was many years ago.
Actually, we're going to have the 30-year anniversary this year at the Women's Boxing Hall of Fame in Las Vegas in October. So it's going to be a lot of fun to get to hang out with Deirdre again. I've seen her a few times since the fight. She's a great person, and way more fiery than I thought. I thought she was like a meek, little kind of quiet girl, and she's not.
She's an Irish lass, definitely. And listen, you changed the game. I've been lucky enough to watch your documentaries. I've seen pretty much all your fights on YouTube. Thankfully that we have YouTube today. But let's talk about that first fight back in, I think it was 89. That was the starting point for you. But obviously, look, you went on to big things. But what a story! What a real story! It's a proper Rocky story, in my opinion. But listen, I'm glad that you took up boxing and that you gave it a go, because it brought the best out of you.
I think everything just happens as it's supposed to in our crazy lives. But I never grew up thinking I wanted to be a boxer. I had never been to a boxing gym. I had never seen a professional fight live. I had watched TV with my dad, some fights with back in the day, we could see free TV and see Muhammad Ali on free TV. Can you imagine that? So I would watch the fights with my dad, but again, never thinking I was going to grow up to be a fighter. And just kind of one thing led to another, and I found my way to Don King, and wow, the rest is history.
Definitely. And look, I'm glad you mentioned Don King, because obviously, when I was a kid growing up in the early 90s, you'd see Don King on the TV quite a bit. But listen, he was fundamental for you as well. Obviously, he played a big role for you. I suppose you finally kind of got the recognition you really deserved. I suppose the paydays were much better than when you first started boxing. But listen, what a guy. And look, he's a guy I'd love to meet, but obviously a great ambassador for boxing and a great influence to you.
Absolutely. I mean, without Don King opening up the doors and giving me an opportunity I mean, really, where would women's boxing as a whole be today? Because maybe no one, I really can't see anybody giving any female the opportunity that King gave me. And then fighting under Mike Tyson, fighting on Showtime, those were all like all the stars had to line up. Mike Tyson was supportive. He could have said, "No, I don't want a woman on my show." Then where would we be today? We don't know because I don't really see that there was a promoter out there that would take a chance on female fighter. Other than Don King did it, he showed the world that women can fight too, and then other promoters started opening their eyes and adding women to their shows.
Definitely. I think Don should actually get more credit for that because today we see all the females, there's a female in every part of the world fighting today for belts, but people don't actually realize Don was probably the one that could have broke that avenue even more. He took that chance. It wasn't a big chance because he knew he had gold with you, but it was something that was huge back in the 90s, and I think he deserves more recognition from the fight fans.
He does, but it's hard for people to give positive recognition to DK because they want to talk about all the other stuff that they don't even know whether it happened or it didn't, but somebody told them it happened. So, he has a lot of negativity swirling around him, but he did a lot of great things for boxing, not just women's boxing, but boxing as a whole.
Most definitely. Now, do you still kind of train in the gym? Because I know you're in your late 50s, and it scares me to say that because you look like a woman that's 21, okay? But
you're sweet.
But do you still kind of hit the bags? Obviously, you show the younger generation a few things here and there.
I actually have been back to the gym. I just moved back to Florida, and I've been going to a gym that's the head coach is actually a fighter that was my amateur fighter. So I'm going back to his gym and hitting the bags a little bit, shadow boxing, trying to take it slow, but I am back in the gym, at least part-time.
Most definitely. That's all we need to know. And look, the game is so much different today. Times have changed, which is a great thing. Obviously, look, there's a lot more, I suppose, awareness of stuff and all that kind of stuff. But would you do things differently now to back in, I suppose, the late 80s, early 90s? Because obviously, look, there's a lot more involved, but it's boxing has changed pretty much a lot as well as we know. But would you do things differently now than you did back when you first started?
I don't know that I could have done anything any differently. The avenues that are out there today with social media and things like that just weren't available back in the late 80s and early 90s. We actually talked to people. We had to do interviews. People come in, would sit down with each other and actually talk or talk on the phone. But it's all changed. Even promoting a fight. I have a fight coming up next week, and it's so hard to do the promotion because people don't watch local TV anymore. They don't, even the radio stations. They don't really listen to the radio stations. It's a whole different world. So social media is where promotion has to happen, and if you're not young, sometimes it's tough and challenging.
It is. I'm going to say this. I do before the 90s. I remember being at home as a kid and you see this big TV commercial. Say yourself facing Laila Ali, and you remember that commercial. You remember, whoa, there was no internet back then. It was just you see what you'd see on telly. You'd hear it on the radio. They were different times, but I think they were better times. I think the imagination was a lot more. It was better. I think they were better times. Am I right?
100%. I agree with you 100%. Times were better. Fighters were better. When I fought Layla, we sold 100,000 pay-per-view buys. Can you imagine how many we would have sold today? We sold the Coliseum out. They had to add seats. It would have been so big today. But we were 20 years too soon.
I know,
maybe 30. I guess we were 30 years too soon.
30s. But listen, that was an incredible fight. That's a fight that a lot of people will talk about. Obviously, that you were crazy because obviously you were, I suppose, so underweight for that fight. She was, I suppose, a beast coming through the ranks. But a lot of people I spoke to that would be a bit older than me would say, look, Christy could have won that fight, no problem. You took the chance, you took the risk. It must have been some occasion for you. And obviously, look, she became a great just like you as well. But obviously, there's a bit of respect there still today.
Oh, absolutely. Laila Ali could have lived on her dad's name and just been Laila Ali, the daughter of the great Muhammad Ali. But she went to the boxing gym. She learned how to box. She really worked at her craft and became a good fighter. Um, yeah, she's Layla Ali. I mean, come on. She's, all the media attention. And she's still being very successful today. She actually called me back in November when the movie was getting ready to be released and congratulated me and told me, best of luck with the movie. So we still we're friendly. I guess we're friendly. I'm teasing. We're friendly, and she's helped me out with some of my promotions. Like she'll make donations. She does cooking stuff, so she makes donations of cooking uh, spices and things that she has for sale.
Yeah, we had her on maybe 3 years ago, and she acknowledged you. She said you're definitely one of the toughest she's ever encountered outside the ring and inside the ring. So there's definitely respect there. There's definitely respect there. Speaking of that movie, the movie is it's iconic. You've got a movie about you, which is the stuff dreams are made of. My partner absolutely bawled her eyes out. She said you're the toughest woman she's ever seen when it comes to stuff like that. But listen, you had a great cast. The Sydney Sweeney played a great part. Obviously, it was a great thing to watch. But how proud are you of that movie? And it's obviously something that you'll cherish, no doubt.
Absolutely. Sydney Sweeney did a great job. It really, it's a shame that for whatever reason, the movie didn't gain more traction at the theaters, and she deserved all the at least to be nominated for every award out there because I mean she just did such a great job. I mean, and she put her whole body and heart and her soul, everything into it. And Ben Foster, who played Jim Martin, was crazy good. And then even Chad, who was Don King, was a good, he did
Yeah.
a great job being DK. So it was a great movie. I think it's going to stay around. It's streaming now, and it's not even that it's about me. It's about the story. It's about people being more aware of domestic violence, sexuality, and being free to be who you are. A little bit of drug addiction, but there's so many different groups of people that can relate to this movie. And as I say, I'm the ultimate underdog. I'm a coal miner's daughter from a little bitty town in southern West Virginia, and kind of made it.
Well,
So if I can, anybody can. So hopefully people will at least see it on the streaming and just gain inspiration from it.
definitely. And you mentioned obviously, look, obviously it was a huge success, but there should have been maybe more awards. But that comes down to the generation today. You've got all these fire sticks. People can illegal stream stuff. They don't go to the cinema as much as they used to. Imagine this film came out in the 90s or the early noughties. It'd be box office hit, sensation after sensation.
It's tough, it's a movie about a woman athlete, a woman boxer. So therefore, that just cuts the audience down. The people that, hey, let's go see a movie. That might not be the movie they would pick. They don't understand, and it wasn't promoted like it wasn't a boxing movie. This was a life movie, and it wasn't really promoted like that. So with a little different promotion, I think the outcome of the movie's success could have been much different.
Well, I absolutely loved it, and you're a tough cookie, that's for sure. There's definitely a bit of Irish in you as well. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. My grandfather was Boyd McLean. So
Hey,
we have some Irish there.
I love it. Now we're gonna quickly talk. Katie Taylor. She is, I suppose, the undisputed queen of boxing. Definitely one of the greats of all time. But what's your thoughts on Katie Taylor? Look, she's obviously done some big things. I suppose she fought Madison Square Garden, has had them massive fights with Amanda Serrano. But what's your thoughts on Katie Taylor?
You know what? I think Katie Taylor is number one on the pound for pound list. I think that for her, I know there's big opportunities out there, but she's done everything. She's proven everything. She's won Olympic medals. She's won world titles. She's won numerous world titles. She's fought at the Garden. She's fought, in Ireland. She's fought everywhere that you could fight, like an iconic venue. She should, I think, retire and walk away. Unless I mean, obviously, I hear there's talk of a Ronda Rousey fight. That's not even a fight. That's go get your money, get your money and go home. That's an easy fight. That's fun for her. So I would, if I were her, I would probably do that, get that big bag of money and call it a career, because she's done everything. And don't let somebody gain their name by beating you. She's done everything.
That's true. And just like yourself, she's a great ambassador. You know, she's great for the kids, for the adults. You know, she speaks a lot of sense. She believes in the right things. But yet again, I think the problem with Katie here in Ireland is she wants to fight Croke Park. That's our mega stadium. The Irish government are too lackadaisy. It might happen, it might not happen. But hopefully she gets that one last fight maybe in Croke Park. And who knows, maybe we'll get to see you come over here. We can look after you here in Ireland.
You never know. You never know. I would love to come over. I understand that 𝗔𝗥𝗏𝗜𝗜𝗔𝗥𝗏𝗜𝗚 has a statue somewhere in her hometown. So I would love to come and see that and have a picture with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗜𝗏𝗏's statue. And then, of course, to be there to support Katie Taylor would be awesome.
I love it. Have you been to Ireland before?
I have not.
Oh my God, we have to get you here.
No, I have not. But I'm sure that I would fit right in.
No, you would. Of course you would. Definitely. We'd look after you and you'd be well looked after. Don't worry.
I like to fight and drink.
Yes, listen, you'll be more than welcome. And last question for me, Christy. Look, obviously this year, every year is a big year for you because, you know, I know the way you think. You know, you're ambitious. You make a lot of great things happen. How is the rest of the year going for you? Obviously, there's a lot on your schedule, but what are you looking forward to most this year?
Mostly, hopefully we can put some titles around some of our fighters. But the really important thing that I'm doing, and my schedule is really starting to fill up a little bit, is making appearances to speak for domestic violence. And that is, you know, that's just number one. That's number one for me, is to try to get people to open up their minds and understand that domestic violence just isn't about bruises. It's not always physical. It's emotional, mental isolation, financial sometimes. There's so many different forms of domestic violence, and people just have to be aware and keep your eyes open, because sometimes it can be happening to you and you don't really realize it until you're so far down the rabbit hole that you don't know how to get out.
That's true. Well, I want to thank you personally for looking out for so many people, for inspiring people all around the world. When you come to Ireland, there's a few drinks on me, I promise you that. And listen, it's an honor as always. I will see you at some stage this year, if it's in America or in Ireland. But thank you for your time. It's an honor, and keep up the great work, Christy.
Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Anytime. We'll see you soon, chap, and thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.